Part 4. Many people are denied exorcism, which, if it's needed, denying such treatment would be criminal. Yet the validity of psychiatric so-called help is rarely questioned. Besides, the psych community never shows the religious community reciprocal courtesy. Ironic, since psychiatric treatment has harmed people mentally, physically, and financially, while exorcisms are harmless. Priest Francisco Peleo bought a hospice in which he cared for the seriously ill. He exorcised them all. Those who were possessed were healed. Those who were simply ill from natural causes remained ill. Demon possession would be an excellent explanation for so-called multiple personality disorder. Admitting we don't know everything goes very far. Interestingly, I had an exorcist as a parish priest when I was a Catholic. Psychiatric wards are helpful for withdrawing from hard drug addiction or in extreme cases of mental upset, but that's only around 1% of all cases. People are regularly institutionalized in places like New York's Bellevue Hospital for 3 reasons: danger to self, danger to others, and supposedly being out of touch with reality. Anyone who hears or sees something that others cannot is accused of visual or auditory hallucinations. Since great religious leaders and saints throughout history regularly heard voices and saw visions, psychiatry would consider them the most mentally ill people extant. Non-believers even consider Jesus mad. Others disturb the peace by imitating an animal or running around naked. Shame on them. But instead of simply being arrested and fined like they should have been, they were also caught up in psychiatry. Concerning danger to others, Milwaukee's notorious murderer, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, who engaged in extremely bizarre actions, claimed full recognizance and responsibility. The system agreed and sent him to regular prison where he was killed. If Jeffrey Dahmer was sane, how can others who engage in criminal activity be insane? Besides, prisons have begun to accommodate mentally unstable prisoners with medication, counseling, and special units, eliminating mental asylums. You need to do more of that. This helps society since they can acquire a trade which can be useful after release and helps protect prisoners from cruel and unusual punishment. Conclusively, only one reason for being in a mental institution is valid: danger to self. Danger to others would be prison. And according to psych philosophy, we no longer sin. Ha ha. People aren't lazy and gluttonous. They have clinomania and phagomania. Idolaters have idolomania. Liars have mythomania. Lechers have satyromania. Greedy people have trimatomania. And thieves, murderers, and arsonists are victims of homicidomania, kleptomania, and pyromania. Negative, crabby people now have paramania. Stubbornness becomes oppositional defiance disorder. Cowardice becomes a phobia. And being a pompous ass or obnoxious, egotistical jerk becomes narcissistic personality disorder. Instead of confessing these problems to a priest, to whom payment is optional, you confess to someone non-religious who bills you. Although one goal is avoiding situations which trigger the behaviors, you also seek to understand them by reiterating your childhood. Much time is wasted since you cannot change the past. And instead of the invariable goal of stopping the behaviors, you may also learn how to best incorporate them into your life. And who knows what goes beyond closed doors in today's institutions. The mental illness label, classifying people as either mentally ill or mentally well, an either-or situation is problematic. Those labeled mentally ill are invalidated or deemed incompetent. Famous actors and actresses have declared themselves mentally ill, usually claiming bipolar disorder, formerly called manic depression. If people with superior functioning are supposedly mentally ill, I and others with mental handicaps are invalidated by proxy. Labeling nonconformists mentally ill is reminiscent of the Salem witch trials and is a sophisticated form of bullying. Instead of self-castigation, individuals with mental challenges need self-affirmation. An illness is something that can either be cured, run its course, or kill someone, like pneumonia. If something can't run its course, be cured, or kill someone, it's not an illness. Since that is the common sense definition of illness, psychiatrists have tried to convince people that many conditions are something they can cure that will otherwise destroy the subject. As one arrogant buffoon told my father, not allowing my help is like allowing your child to be hit by a truck. Besides, there has always been disagreement on what is or isn't mental illness. When most people considered homosexuality dangerous and repugnant, men with those proclivities regularly became institutionalized, receiving shock treatments, lobotomies, and other torturous methods of psychiatric so-called cures, sometimes dying for them. They eventually rebelled, facilitating society's radical turnaround. Consequently, homosexuality was removed from the official list of illnesses in 1972. However, many more conditions are now conveniently labeled mental illness. Besides classic schizophrenia, there's ADHD, Tourette's syndrome, Alzheimer's, dementia, and panic disorder. ADHD, Tourette's, and other similar conditions can be labeled brain damage since they are present at birth. I don't consider a brain damage label insulting. However, illnesses come and go unpredictably. A person with alleged mental illness would then be unpredictable and untrustworthy. Alzheimer's and dementia can be simply classified as the brain wearing out. A so-called panic disorder can result from common external reasons or physical problems such as irregular heart function, arrhythmia, and whatnot. Consider the condition most commonly associated with mental illness. Schizophrenia with its 4 subtypes: simple, hebephrenic, catatonic, and paranoid. Schizophrenia is supposedly acquired suddenly and mysteriously with no apparent cause. However, every effect must have a sufficient cause. That drug abuse and sexually transmitted diseases often result in so-called mental illness is well established in medical history. For example, syphilis harms people by its spirochetes damaging the body. Spirochetes entering the brain and causing schizophrenia would ultimately be brain damage, not illness. Syphilis often has no symptoms, while its spirochetes secretly weaken various internal structures until one system suddenly collapses. This leads some to believe that conditions such as schizophrenia suddenly wash over someone like an illness. And by painstakingly hiding scandalous conditions, complete obfuscation of causative factors results. Certainly, the more people classify this as mentally ill, the more money the psych community makes. There are over 400 conditions labeled so-called mental illness, according to the Statistical and Diagnostic Manual of Psychiatric Disorders. Everyone on earth may eventually be classified as mentally ill, since everyone has personality quirks. So for those stuck with unwanted labels of mental illness and the fear, misunderstanding, disrespect, and shunning that go with it, may they unite to aggressively change their diagnostic status. Since homosexuals succeeded in causing radical change, others can likewise battle their mental illness label. Consider the book titled The Myth of Mental Illness. Stay tuned for part 5.